spesial, tam, kde sú podávané na budovy čárance pre chlapov.
Bardzo prywatne protezy rąk, wiadomo, że właściciele tych rzeczy skierowani do zapomnienia do pracy poszli do końca.
Della spina ma precisa ma con gli scontati con i ceni centra. Perché prima è uscita.
eksperymentalna doktora Klausa Krauberga, ginekologa pomocnika, który na rozkaz Himmlera miał wystawić je w baraku w Revolcie i tam wprowadzał między te preparaty rentgenowskie grupę ręcznych albo grupę. W bloku śmierci. Nie bez powodu. 95% druga po tej polskiej walce. No właśnie to było skuteczne. Dorosłe osobniki zginęły, ale larwy i jajeczka przetrwały.
Gas was dropped into the gas chamber from the roof by the soldiers, and then we go to the right to see the crematorium with two reconstructed furnaces.
Ta budowa se zachovala Jeden kvůli tomu, tak se potom byl Revolt, který byla... No, bo mi to prázdné, protože těm Slovákům
Ale to masz jakieś nazwisko?
First to be big barracks like there. This is the oldest part of Holocaust.
Toczy po lewej stronie wprowadzała czas, potom Prażany, także mluvíme ženský čas. Druhá verzia, tam kde sú dřevěná budovy čárance, které chlapou, který má ženský čas, ten čárance už to vůbec nebyl mesiáš, který tam efektivně nemocný.
Everything here in the middle, and then when the time to walk around, please mind because on the side there's a hole. So be careful. First using bricks that left after houses destroyed in the villages and wooden barracks. But materials for the wooden barracks were imported to Auschwitz from Germany, and wooden barracks were smaller. 400 or 500 people lived in one wooden barrack. While in brick barracks like this, between 700 and 800 prisoners lived, so they were very overcrowded. On the entrance, maybe you notice, if not when you will be leaving, you will see that on the right and left there are two small rooms. One room was used by the prisoner that was in charge, the other room was used as a storage, and this was the area for the rest of the prisoners. So you can see here 3-level bunk beds. In empty places there were also beds. This is why they were dismantled. Beds are original, the construction is original. Floor that we are standing on is not original, but underneath there is the original floor. But in most of the books written by the survivors, you will read that they didn't receive enough materials to keep the barracks warm, and in winter it was very cold. So let's walk around. We will start and we will walk around because it locks. So we will walk around, take a look, and then I will have. were leaving those roads. And naked, they were taken to the second room that was underground, that one. We'll be going in a moment around to the gas chamber with the fake showers. And on the ground level, there was crematorium with 5 big furnaces. We've entered gas chamber number 1 in Auschwitz-I, where around 700 people could be murdered within half an hour. I said that that was the smallest gas chamber, because in that gas chamber, around 2,000 people could be locked and murdered. You can tell that the soldiers were able to murder in Birkenau within half an hour, almost 8,000 people. But of course, they couldn't do that every 30 minutes, because crematoria couldn't keep up with cremating such a huge amount of dead bodies. All 4 crematoria in total within the whole day were able to cremate around 4,500 bodies, and directly to the gas chambers. Gas chambers were full, crematoria couldn't keep up with cremating the bodies, there were new transports coming. Sonderkommando had to also cremate bodies outside. We saw that in the photo in Auschwitz, one body is cremated outside. Because that mass extermination of the Jews was supposed to be secret, and the crematoria area was surrounded by additional electrified fence. Sonderkommando were not allowed to speak with the other prisoners. Of course, they had the ways to communicate. Prisoners who lived in the barracks in Birkenau, they knew what was going on here. There were plans, ideas made by the prisoners to start a big uprising in Auschwitz. It didn't happen, but there was a smaller uprising, very important one, started by Sonderkommando. 450 people were executed straight away. There were some members of Sonderkommando who were allowed to stay alive because the soldiers needed them to still cremate the bodies to work in the crematorium. And during that uprising, Sonderkommando killed 3 SS guards. If there were, for example, bigger parts of bones that were not burned, this was job for the prisoners, for Sonderkommando. There was a small brick building where Sonderkommando had to destroy the bones that left using hammers. They had to smash them into smaller pieces, and first victims' ashes were dumped into pits, holes in the ground near the crematorium. There are 2 of them here. That's the first one, the second is behind that brick construction without the grass. And during the war, these were pits for the victims' ashes. When they were full, there was a big car or cars coming to the camp. Ashes were taken out, put on the cars, and they were transported outside of the camp, dumped mostly into Vistula or Soa rivers, sometimes into fields, ponds, but mostly into those 2 rivers that are passing through the town. And this is why till these days, most of the victims don't have graves. But the whole museum is treated as a cemetery, memorial, especially Birkenau. This is the place where most of Auschwitz victims were murdered. Items had to be brought here with these people, and a lot of them were packing for the journey. This is why they moved them to concentration camps in the west in Germany. First, selected prisoners had to walk around 60 kilometers to Silesia, from where they were deported by trains to the Reich. It was winter, cold, snow, people had striped uniforms. A lot of them died during the evacuation. Between 9 up to 15,000 prisoners died. This is why the evacuation is called the Death Marches. When the camp was liberated, there were prisoners here, but a little bit over 7,000 people, mainly weak, dying. There were some children. They were just left here. They were considered as not able to work, walk. They were left. Shortly after the liberation, Soviets, with the help of Polish civilians, they organized hospital for the survivors in blocks of Auschwitz-I. Part of the camp was also used by the Soviets for a few months as a prison, but when the war was over, Soviets started leaving the area. Polish people that lived here before the war wanted to come back home, and especially when people started coming back to Brzezinka and to the nearby villages that were destroyed, they were left with nothing, and they started dismantling wooden barracks. They stopped thanks to the survivors, because survivors of Auschwitz who knew what was this place, what happened here, these were the first people that started to convincing the government that the camp should be left. And 2 years after the war, in 1947, Museum Auschwitz was established. Thanks to the survivors, the first director of the museum, first guys, people that were taking care of the area, these were all survivors. Survivors rebuilt execution wall in Auschwitz-I, furnaces and crematorium.